Hello there, Ray here, and today I will be doing a tutorial block for block for my impossible prison. To learn about how this prison all works, make sure to check out the previous video which I've linked down below. In this video, I will talk about different methods that people try to use to get out of this prison and why they don't work. And I'll also cover the different upgrades for this prison. And at the end of the video, I will do a tutorial on it. If you're just for the block for block tutorial, check the timestamp for that. And make sure you guys hit the subscribe button as well as the bell, as I make tons of different cool types of machines using tricks and tips I come up with. So I got a ton of comments on the last video about this prison and people giving different suggestions on how to escape it. Now many of the comments were actually things I already covered in that video explaining why they wouldn't work. So some people suggested throwing out a bunch of items to jam the system down below. The only thing is that there is a whole bunch of hopper minecarts that can pick up all the items and just keep them in here until the item sorters can keep up with them, and then the item sorters will just throw the items into lava and destroy them. Some people said to throw in armor stands. Problem is, the armor stands, you're just helping the system. They get sorted out and they get recycled and drop back into the player. So if you throw in armor stands, they will just go in with all the rest of armor stands. If you rename the armor stands, then they'll just get thrown out as junk. Some people also said that they wanted to place in their own armor stands. The problem is you can't actually place anything inside of here because first of all, you can't right click. Also, you can't place armor stands in a 1 block hide area. But dispensers are able to do it, but not the player. Some people suggested killing all the armor stands in the entire system, and that way it would run out and then you could escape it. The thing is, you can put chests here, you can have as much armor stands as you want inside of it. Also, any armor stand you break is automatically being picked up and recycled back around, so it doesn't actually get lost. And every time you break one armor stand, the system puts in 10 more. I also mentioned in the last video that you're not supposed to be using auto clickers or third-party programs. And since there's around 200 armor stands in there at any given time, it's not like you could just break a couple and then mine the blocks to the side. You have to go through all 200 of them. Now, I had a few comments suggesting that when you're inside to use a fire aspect sword, because fire aspect swords are kind of different when they are used on a armor stand. If you hit and you let it be on fire and you just wait for the fire to destroy it, it doesn't drop any armor stand. This would be one way to remove armor stands from the system, because any other way that you use to try to remove armor stands, they just get picked up by the hopper minecart. Like if you break them really fast, they don't go into your inventory, they go into a hopper before the player can hold them. So you can't just hold a whole bunch of armor stands. If we use the fire aspect enchantment and we slowly wait for them to burn up, then we can actually eventually run out armor stands. Now this was a good suggestion, except it doesn't actually work if you would try it out. Notice that when you hit a armor stand, it takes a while for it to actually be destroyed. So every time you hit one armor stand inside of here, you have to wait about 4 or 5 seconds for it to burn up. And because of that, the skulk sensor hears you hurting an armor stand and it will place in 10 more. So you removed one armor stand, but it added 10 more. And if you keep this up and you destroy 1,000 armor stands, that means there's going to be 10,000 armor stands inside of this area with you, which at that point you're probably going to leg out. So it's a compounding problem. It doesn't matter how many you destroy, they're just going to put in 10 times that many until you're kicked from the server because there's too many entities. Now I did add a upgrade to remove the use of fire aspect. What I got here is a bunch of cauldrons and they have water in them and they get pushed in and replace the center cauldron. Now you guys might know if you're on fire and you sit in a cauldron, you can have the fire be put out. And it's also going to remove a water level. And this is exactly what I did, except I do it for the armor stands. So we got water here and cauldrons. They're getting pushed in and they are inside of the armor stand right here. So if the armor stands take some fire damage, they're just going to be extinguished, and the cauldron's also going to rotate. So it's going to push the cauldrons over here. And what we got is a automatic way of putting water into cauldrons by having a new property of 1.17, which is dripstone. And this is just above these cauldrons and has a water source above them. And this allows them to drip and slowly fill these back up again. You notice these are the ones that it already used, and you can see they're adding more layers to them. And they go all the way around. Gives them time to put 3 layers of water before they go back in again. So with this system constantly refilling with water, you're not able to destroy any of the armor stands using fire. That means they will still get recycled into the system and put back above, and no armor stands are lost. Now since you can attack armor stand every about 4 seconds with fire aspect, you do need quite a few cauldrons of water if the player is constantly using fire aspects on them. And you'd actually need twice as many cauldrons as I have here. You'd have to make another loop and then feed it back into this one. But I just put half of it in here so you guys got an idea of what you could do if you really wanted to. I don't think anybody would actually use Fire Aspect that long once they realize it's not working. And they will also get lagged out because it keeps putting 10 times as many armor stands as you break one. A lot of comments suggested that you have a friend come and get you out of this, and as I stated in the previous video, I will eventually make it so that it's protected by outside players, but currently I just wanted to build it to protect one player inside of it from being able to escape on his own. And I want this system to be a little bit better than Pandora's Vault, where there has to be guards maintaining it. This one, there doesn't have to be any guards maintaining the player from trying to escape out. As a comment suggests that you put this in world spawn point so people find it and fall into it. Or you set it exactly where people, when they die and respawn in the world, they accidentally spawn directly inside of it. Now when you die and you respawn at the world spawn point, I think there's like a 20 by 20 area where it can place a player. But you could potentially kind of push the player into the system if you wanted to. So all you have to do is like kill a player, ends up at spawn, and then it automatically gets pushed into this trap that's waiting for him. Some of you guys suggested if you are stuck inside of it, if you downgrade your Minecraft version to an older version, then you can escape. This is because the kind of swimming mode doesn't exist prior to 1.13. That would be one way to do it, but most likely this is on a multiplayer server because you wouldn't build this trap for yourself. So downgrading isn't really an option for most people. Some of you guys also said that maybe an Enderman would come and help you get out. Just make sure to build this out of blocks that Enderman can't pick up. They don't have to worry about them. Some guys also said that Creeper might spawn and blow up, but Creeper only will blow up if it sees a player, which it shouldn't be able to. Also, mobs shouldn't be able to spawn inside of that chamber there because that pressure plate is a redstone component and mobs don't spawn on redstone. Now, I did see quite a few comments that said you can just rebind your keys to something else so that you can right click, and that might work in other editions of Minecraft, but as I said in the previous video, this is specifically designed for the Java edition. So even if I rebind my right click to a different key on my keyboard, if I push it, it still doesn't work. Doesn't matter where you rebind the key to, they still act like right click and left click buttons. So that doesn't work. Some of you guys did suggest using the trick that I showed you guys, which is where you turn your mouse keys into keyboard keys. You're able to click a lot faster than what you normally can in survival. Some of you guys thought you could do this to break the armor stands, and it does help you click faster without using a third-party program. But you can see it's still putting armor stands in really fast. Some of you guys also suggested using the sweeping edge to hurt more armor stands with one go. The thing is, it only does damage to the one you're targeting. It does a large amount of damage to that one. And all the other armor stands get small amount of damage done to them, not enough to kill them. And armor stands, like boats and minecarts, regen their health back really fast. So sweeping edge doesn't actually help you here. Some people also suggested using the /kill command. Now that is something you can do if you have cheats on, but you can't do that in survival. So any kind of like /kill or /teleport command is probably on a modded server. People also thought you would get enough armor stands in here to give entity cramming, but they don't give that no matter how many entities are in here. They're different than like minecarts. Some people said that you could just sit here and starve to death, but that's what the regen beacon is for over there. In a normal difficulty, you normally don't starve to death. You only get about half your hearts removed. Some people said just use your offhand to do stuff. The problem is the offhand works just like your other hands. When you right click, you just right click on these armor stands. So it doesn't work. Now some methods that were pretty close to working is if you do like F3 plus T and you're like reloading the resources, and then you try to like right click when it's reloading, or you do F3 plus A, which reloads the chunks. Problem is the chunks load really fast in a high ping world. Some people were able to leave a server and unload the chunks. And then when they reloaded it, they were able to like throw ender pearl or eat chorus fruit before the server was able to load up the armor stands. But it seemed like this only worked if the chunks around the player were unloaded when they left the server. So if you didn't want the player to escape this way, you could, like I said, put this in spawn chunks or have this loaded using the nether portal trick that I came up with. Some of you guys suggested trying to fool with the skulk sensor by like jumping up and down or walking to make it go off, and then when it's going off, go ahead and break armor stands. And that's what the wool here is for, is to make it so that the player can't walk or jump to activate the skulk sensor. Now the only ways you can distract the skulk sensor is by hurting the armor stands or by placing armor onto them. So if I hit them, I'm going to activate it over there. or if it plays armor onto them, you can see also it goes off. Now, one thing I did notice during testing that if you put armor in your offhand, it's considered like placing it onto the player, which also makes it go off, which is kind of interesting, but either way, it creates more armor stands to fall downwards onto the player. So it doesn't matter what type of thing you use to try to distract the skull sensor, it's going to just add more armor stands every time. Now in the previous video, I did talk about how you could place Thorn's armor onto the armor stand and then punch it to do some damage to the player. Now the regen beacon will regenerate your hearts, but it doesn't do it very fast. I did make it slightly faster by restarting the regen effect. When you guys get the regen effect, only once every 4 seconds does it actually heal the heart on your player. You can make it slightly faster by having the regen give you another half heart, and then starting a new regen cycle that gives you another half a heart. This makes it slightly faster, but because the beacons give you regen every 16 seconds, you have to wait for 16 seconds to elapse before you can reapply it. And that's what this system here does. It just turns off the regeneration effect and then it reapplies it. It doesn't help a lot, but it can help a little bit over time. If we go back inside of here, you can try out the armor stand thorns thing once again. Placing thorns, you can punch it, and you can see that I do take a little bit of damage, but the regen's able to re-heal it. The most plausible way to escape this without relying on a laggy server is to use the thorns, as I shown in the previous video. When it comes down to RNG, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One method is that you place in armor and then you hit it, and then you take damage. It places in more armor stands. Then you choose a new piece to place in there and hit it. Every time you're hitting the armor stand, it's doing the thorns damage back onto you. But there's a smaller chance of it doing damage back to you with only one piece added onto it. And the amount of damage it does back is also random between a little bit and a lot depending on your thorns level. Another method is to place in the thorns and punch it and place in more and just keep punching and placing in. And if you do this very quickly, you can get to the initial pieces that you did before, but it does go through a lot of pieces. And if you have an entire inventory full, there's a chance that the RNG will let you die before the regen can regenerate your health. Another method that we tested was placing the armor onto the armor stand, hitting it, and then pulling it back off by using right click. So essentially doing right click, left click, and then right click. That way you don't lose the armor, and because you directly pull it off, and you don't try to obtain it by breaking the armor stand, because anything that falls will automatically be picked up by the hopper, the player can actually directly pull the armor and it goes into his hand slot once again, so you don't lose it. So right click, left click, right click. Once again, you're depending on RNG for it to damage you, and you also need it to do a large amount of damage. You can't just do small amounts, otherwise the regen beacon will regenerate as you just seen. But if you get lucky, you can eventually kill yourself even on normal difficulty by using this method. It just might take a long time to get the right RNG. Now we did try to come up with some ways to combat this. The best method would be able to put the armor stands directly into where the player's face is at. That way, as soon as he places down a thorns piece onto this, a new armor stand is immediately placed into his face, meaning that he can't access the previous one. Problem is that we're using a pressure plate down here, and that would power any dispenser we would put nearby. The pressure plate is used to count how many entities are here, so we could do without it, but then the system wouldn't have its full functions. Another idea was to put boots on all the armor stands before they are placed into where the player is at. This is possible to do. It is possible to also sort out boots, but it's a very tedious and the redstone takes up a lot of room. Now, some of you guys suggested that if you have like a pet of some sort, they will teleport in here and then you can get entity cramming. The thing is, these guys don't actually teleport inside of here. We tested it with a whole bunch of pets and they will teleport around the redstone and stuff or teleport in there, but they won't actually come inside of here. So they're not going to actually help you. Some of you guys also thought that foxes are considered pets, but they're not actually. So they don't teleport to the player. Another thing you could do is try to avoid getting the regen effect. Since we're only applying it once every 16 seconds, you can log out during that time. And that way you never get the effect. So by using this slightly faster regen system, there is that chance that players will just log out during that period, rather than having a beacon that is always going and is applying regen every 4 seconds. I'd love to see you guys try to escape this. Maybe you guys can come up with some new methods that we didn't talk about in these videos. I want to say big thanks to everybody who joined our testing streams. We had so many people give great suggestions on how to improve the system, as well as come up with ways that we could try to overcome it. If you'd like to see the entire process of us coming up with this design from the very start all the way into what you see here, check out my Twitch stream. I also stream 4 times a week, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And drop a follow over there while you're at it. Now we will get into the block by block tutorial on how to build this up. I'm just going to show the simpler version of it, not with the extra water and the extra timer. To get started, you will want to place this underground, so choose your spot. You'll have to dig it out, and then we're going to build it from the bottom up. That's just the easiest to build stuff. So let's place down some blocks. First, we're going to build the item sorter. Now we go up with 6 droppers. And let's put one on top going inwards. And for here. Droppers facing the comparators. And droppers here. Now we're going to place in a clock for each of these. Now we put in observers like this. We skip this one and we put another one right there. And same for the side. Now we're going to have chests here and here. Droppers pointing into each of them. And droppers here and there, with hoppers into each of those. Now we're going to have cauldrons with lava underneath of each of these. And then we're going to read contents of this, and we're going to make a clock that will dump the items out into the lava. And the same for this side. Put the grindstone in like that. And now we're going to put some slabs in along here. And we're going to go out 8 this direction, 2. And there's going to be a sticky piston right here. So now what we want to do is place in a chain sideways like that, and then place a hopper minecart on top and drop it down onto there just like so. Now you can secure this minecart by placing some blocks around it. Now you can do this again with another set. And you can put as many hopper minecarts down here or this layer as you need. The more you have, the more items players can throw out without overwhelming the system. Now let's place in some blocks on this side to secure it, and we'll want to place in a wool block directly right there. We're going to have to push it in with a piston just like this. And we place wool on these 2 sides, and we can have a iron pressure plate right there. And we can have any type of blocks on these 2 sides. just not wool. Now we can place in redstone all along here. Now what we'll do is we'll extend this, and right here we need a piston with a block in front of it, and then we'll have a repeater right here, like so. Now on this side we can have some wool going out this direction, and we can have wool there. This is just to insulate the sculk sensor, which we're going to have back here. So we'll just extend this outwards, and right here is where the sculk sensor is going to be. So we'll put the sculk sensor in right there, and we're going to detect the output right over here. That's going to go up and over here. And then we're going to have redstone. We're not going to put that piece in for now. Then right here we'll have a piston. And the sticky piston will have an observer right here. And then we'll have another observer over here. And we're going to have redstone on top of this dropper. We're going to have another dropper pointing this way. And then we're going to have dispensers on either side. Dispenser here and a dispenser here. On this side you want to put a cauldron, and then you can build up. This will be where the player will come down. We also got some redstone on this side here. So it goes up this thing and down this way and across here. Goes over like this, and now we have redstone on top of all of this. Now we have hoppers pointing into that one as well as that one. And this is where we'll have a chest full of armor stands on top of these. So you can fill these up with armor stands. You can put as many chests here as you want. You can put hoppers like this and just keep going up with them, and then put in the armor stands inside of them. The more armor stands you have, more of a buffer zone you have for the player to remove them. And this is of course where the entranceway is. Keeps going upwards like this. Next we're going to put in a system that will start the whole thing. Put it in like this. And then we go this direction. And all the way up to here. We put redstone on top of all of this blocks. And we would put redstone there and there, but I'm currently not going to do that. Okay, to start the system, we want to put a lever on this and power this piston up in the air. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place a torch on a block right underneath of this piston. Then we're going to place a block right here, and that is going to power this piston. Now we can depower that lever or remove it. So now this pressure plate is primed. Anything that touches it is going to activate it. We also need to come in here and place in redstone here and here. Now if anything touches the pressure plate, it's going to push this piston, this block away, and that's going to start putting in armor stands. Now all we need to do is have a piston push in this cauldron and the block above it. So we're going to have a piston point in like that, as well as one pointing right there. And then we're going to hook this wiring up to this up here. So just by putting blocks like this. Now when this activates, it's going to push these two blocks in. Now what you want to do is place in the item filters. You can see a bunch of junk ended up down here. What you want is you want armor stands to be in this slot. And then you want some random item to be in this slot. If you're afraid that somebody's going to jam the system, you can put in written books like I did here. And because written books are unique to the player, meaning that no one else can get this book. Even if they make a copy of it, they can't replicate it exactly. And that just goes into the item filter. So we just got one item filter completed, and just do the same to this one over here. Armor stands and random item. Now one of the last things you can do to make it a little bit better is to put in a grindstone right there and have that minecart over here get pushed over that direction. You can do this by coming in with your elytra mode over here, Then when you get in there, you can push the minecart over a little bit. That way, it's over top of both of the item filters, and it can sort items a lot faster. So if I put items in there, it's going to get pulled by both hoppers, and it's going to be dumping those items into lava, destroying them on either side. So now, whoever falls down in there will automatically get stuck into this trap. You can also put ladders down there like I did the example, which is over there. Now it's pretty much completed. If you want to add on the extra stuff like the beacon, you just build that near it. The water system, if you want to add that, you can add that using the world download. I also got a timer here to increase time in which the player gets the regen. These are all kind of extras just to make it a little bit more powerful against certain types of attacks towards the prison. But now you at least have the basis of the prison completed. If there's any changes I make to this prison, I will make notes in the description as well as in my pinned comment. Also remember, there is the world download in the description if it wasn't clear in the tutorial. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to leave a like, and I am excited to also build a version of this where the players are not able to get into it, so no outside friend will come in to help you. You'll be protected from the inside as well as protected from the outside. Also, be sure to share this video with others so they can have fun building this up and trying it out on their friends. If you'd like to see more cool things, check out my playlist, and I have over 700 videos with really cool things that you could do in your survival world. I would like to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!